Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to do a flawless face foundation on the beautiful Liris. And all she has on right now is moisturizer and a lash, just so that we don't feel crazy. So what I'm going to really show you how to do is to carve out the features, brighten up under the eye, carve out cheekbones, carve out a nose, enhance her jawline, and just sort of frame her face. I do want to point out and take note that, and you will see this on a lot of African American women, this is a natural, beautiful thing that happens, is that the middle of her face is brighter naturally. So we don't want to cover that up, we want to enhance it. I like to use this as a concealer brush. It's a pointed, fluffy foundation brush. It's from Bdellium Tools. It's the brush number 949. It's my personal favorite. You can use a small flat concealer brush. Anything that you like to use for concealer can be used. I prefer this brush. And then my favorite tool, the Beauty Blender, and I've wet it to make it puffy. We all know this beautiful pink egg, but if we don't, we should all know it. And for concealer, I'm gonna start out with Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. The color I'm gonna use on her is SX12. This is a really heavy product, so I'm gonna really thin it out when I put it on her, but it's very important, especially in the highlight, I feel, to make it as bright and full coverage as possible, and we can thin the foundation out as it goes out, but the most coverage should be kind of under your eyes to create the brightness. So I've scooped out some of the Kevyn Aucoin, and I'm just stippling it with the brush. I'm gonna show you what I'm doing with it, just so that I don't pick up too much product. I'm gonna go into the bottom and the corners of her eyes. And I chose, it's a very, very warm yellow-based shade. Her skin is very, very yellow, especially in the middle of her face. It's very bright, very yellow. And I'm gonna sort of paint it on literally from her hairline all the way to the side of her nose and down her cheek. I'm following that natural, turn this way for a sec. I'm following that natural contour and almost just painting the brightness onto her face. And then back to camera. And I'm gonna take the sponge, the blender, and just tap it in. This will help it be very, very flawless. So I've tapped it into her skin with the brush, and now I'm just sort of spreading it, but we never want to wipe. A lot of people ask me why their foundation doesn't last all day. They're not putting enough on because they are wiping it on. You want to just tap it into your skin, and that's also how you can kind of make it disappear and look very flawless. Wetting the blender is a big deal because it just sort of helps the product spread and not absorb into the sponge. We're going to continue the highlight in the middle of her face. So even though it's going to look bright, we're going to bring it up into the middle of her forehead. Turn that through. Even though her face is naturally browner a little bit in some of these places, we're going to kind of blend out to it using a second foundation. And now I'm going to choose a foundation that is closer to her body shade and closer to the shade of her hairline, jawline. And that is, it's a Lancôme shade. These are my favorite foundations. 520 Warm in the Teint Idole Ultra 24. Great long wearing. I'm going to use a MAC foundation brush. It's 130. It has a great top to stipple, because now that we've gotten that coverage under her eyes, and she has beautiful skin, there's no need to pack foundation on her. We're going to use this to kind of thin the foundation out. I'm going to tap it into her hairline, and you can see that it looks very different than the color we put in the middle of her face. Kind of get rid of those lines that are so obvious that we've laid two different colors down. And by layering the two colors together, you get a natural gradation of what really is just going on in her skin. Not going over where we did concealer, but just kind of coming from underneath it, blending down lightly. Again, she doesn't need a really big layer of it. So we'll see that it looks different, but when we blend it out, again, the same thing is going to happen, that natural gradation. And I'm following kind of the angle of her cheekbone. That color matches perfectly, and this color matches perfectly because she has naturally different tones in her skin. Because we've used two different colors on her face, I'm going to use two different colors to contour. I see a lot of stripy noses. I think people are using the same color to contour here that you're using to contour here. And that makes no sense because you need something that's gonna pop on this color and you need something that's gonna pop on this color. So to contour her nose, I'm gonna use the same shade of foundation that I use on the outside. So we're just kind of mimicking, I said, the tones in her skin already. A lot of people ask where to start a contour. It kind of depends what you wanna do with your nose. Liris actually has a really adorable nose. It doesn't need a lot of contour, but it always looks better in a photo. Her face is very compact, so what I will do for her is bring it all the way up to her eyebrow. If you have a long nose and you want to shorten it, you might want to bring it into the crease, because really what you're doing is just enhancing the shape and the dimension of it. I'm using a flat, just like a flat synthetic brush. This one is Ben Nye FB7. It's very thin, and it's a synthetic brush. Always use synthetic brushes when you're using liquids. You can use bristle brushes on powders. I'm going to start at the middle. The idea is obviously just to kind of create the a harsher brow bone, or a harsher nose bone than she already has. So we're going to follow that natural shape and just literally draw it. We're trying to keep the tip of her nose light, or lighter, the same light color. That's really going to bring out the shadow. So you can see already that we pulled out the shape. If you want to enhance it more, which you probably shouldn't have to if you've done the shape properly, but you can take another flat foundation brush similar to this one and just go back down the middle with that same bright color. Do not go any brighter. I've seen some crazy, crazy nose contours where, again, you guys are going way too dark with this color. So we see the nice blend that happens when we use the color that's already on her face to contour her nose. Now to bring out a color that's gonna pop more in this darker shade, I'm gonna go a little bit darker. This is a Bobbi Brown stick. It's pretty dark. It's the Espresso. It's a foundation stick from Bobbi Brown. A little on this, it's kind of like a full fluffy brush that comes to a dome point. It's my favorite to contour. We're gonna find this natural line. Some people do the fish face to pull that out. If you're having trouble seeing where the line is, you can do it in the mirror. That line that goes in right under her cheekbone, that's what we're defining. Starting kind of at the hairline, and you want it darker towards the hairline, and you want it to fade out. I just kind of draw like a pretty straight line. Again, we're doing that tribal look, having turned towards me. And again here, same thing. Just bringing it down. And I'm gonna take the Beauty Blender, kind of buff. I don't wanna go below that line, but I also don't wanna go too high above it. It's really just about buffing it out. Nice little trick that all the ladies love is to just carve out that jawline. That really helps how you look in a photo. Any little double chin moments we have going on, any little gobble gobble want to get rid of. Gonna create some shadow. So the foundation should be to, you know, perfect any imperfections on the skin, but then we don't want to be a mask. We want to bring back the natural bone structure that she has, which is gorgeous, or create it. If you don't have it, turn towards. Makeup Forever. Comes with 4 shades. I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to use the lightest yellow shade to go over her, anywhere we were light. And I'm going to probably use this medium warm shade to go over her foundation. And then I'll use the deeper shade to go over her deeper contour. So basically what I do is I take powder on the puff, rub it together to get it really in the puff, and then I just kind of tap it. I'm going to fold it, look up, and I'm going to press the powder in. This is just going to help the makeup last all day, but again, we're just going kind of over the light parts. The middle shade, same thing. Now this is where we're going to do the 2 separate shades. The middle shade, rub it in. Same thing. I'm gonna go over with the same color that I used out here. I'm gonna take a little bit on the brush and just help set that contour and just bring it out a little bit, again, without ODing. Tap out the excess powder so we don't look stripey. That's how we contour. Obviously we add bronzer and blush for a complete look, but this is great just as a base to bring out all that structure. We've hidden all of her imperfections. She really didn't have any pimples or anything for me to show you extreme coverage, but just kind of carved out all that natural structure she had but made her face nice and bright.